Wellness Wednesdays, 15 minutes with your virtual pharmacist. We're here again for this wonderful Wednesday. Is it the last Wednesday in November already? I
Yep.
think it might be. Wow. Well, we're here again. I'm Dr. Marsie Lynn Ross, your virtual pharmacist, and I'm so excited to be here again with you guys. I have a great broadcast for you. We have Meg Necero here. Hey, Meg.
Hey, Marcie.
Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Meg is here to help us talk about seasonal depression. We know that we're supposed to feel happy. The bells are ringing. It's a cheerful season. But for some people, that's just not the case. So Meg is a former Department of Homeland Security attorney who decided to resign after 19 years of service. And she did this to pursue her dream as a writer, inspirational speaker, success coach or dream coach, and an attorney for justice. I love it. So welcome, Meg. Welcome. Hey, Nell. Yes, good topic. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Tuki. Glad you guys are here. So welcome, Meg. We are so happy to have you help us kind of speak to this, because not a lot of people are talking about this condition, if you will, that people feel during this time of the year.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And the fact that I get to talk to you for 15 minutes is even more exciting. So I think one of my things to help me through any kind of seasonal depression is always find my tribe. And when I found them the way we found each other is definitely a plus in the grand scheme of things. So
I love it. So Meg actually wrote a book called The Magical Guide to Bliss, which she actually began after navigating through a devastating loss of her mother in 2011 to breast cancer. And so we recently actually had this whole conversation about seasonal depression, because it's just not something that people are typically talking about. And so just, from your point of view, how do you define, or how can people really understand what is seasonal depression?
Well, I mean, sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves during the holidays because, you're supposed to be happy, you're supposed to be joyous. And actually, in essence, everyone is a little bit nicer. People show up as if they want to celebrate. They want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. So when you're feeling depressed about the holidays is when you look around and saying, well, why not me? Why am I not a part of this whole joyous, celebratory experience too? And then you become very, very, hard on yourselves and not gentle at all. And then you wonder what's going on, and you get even sadder and sadder. It kind of actually is like a rolling tide of emotions. And I as far as depression goes, I live in Florida, so I don't have the whole weather element as well, and it gets colder, and you're inside doors more often, and there's not as much outside, so that also plays a part in it as well. So
yeah.
So as far as like
do you think that it affects women more than men? Do you see that you think that it has a gender preference, or do you think that it's something that can affect anybody?
Well, I think women may have the blessing, I imagine, to show their emotions a lot more than men do. I think that, men, they have to be masculine and tough and very stalwart, so they're not likely to show you that they're depressed.
Right.
Meanwhile, when they come home at night, they might be drowning their sorrows with alcohol. I have no idea. I'm just saying that men tend to express themselves emotionally much more so. It's more acceptable societally as something that's a part of the fabric and allowable, to be quite honest. So.
Right. Yes, it's tough, right? Because you don't know if somebody has a trigger. They definitely shouldn't be afraid to express their emotions. So say you have, like you had something traumatic happen to you, and you really don't say you've grieved enough, or you may have, around this time of the year, right? I can only imagine you want your mother here, you want your loved ones there. It can be a challenge. How do you really help somebody navigate through expressing it, if they express it too long or not, just excessively? And we know that this is all informational. We know that you are not a clinical psychologist. You're speaking just from your experience, and also as a life coach, a dream coach, a success coach. I love all of those adjectives. And they really do speak to what you do. But how do you kind of help somebody really with that process to say, how do you kind of get out of it? Not get over it, but move through it.
I think that by being present to another person when they're experiencing or actually acknowledging that you see them, that they're going through something, and actually extend yourself to another person is definitely a benefit from having had the experience yourself. I think that when you've walked that journey and you've experienced it yourself, that you have that kind of basis upon which you can go back to and say, okay, listen, I'm going to be vulnerable and reach out to someone else because I know how bad it can be and how lonely you can feel and how the solitude will overtake you. So as far as my journey with regard to that, and I'm telling you, I had an emotional breakdown on Sunday because my entire Christmas ornament collection was completely destroyed with mold, and it can bring back all the memories of my mother. And I'm like, it's got all destroyed. I got to throw it away. So, I have my moments still to this day. Right. It's just, I allowed myself to actually feel it. Right. And I think that when you give people who are going through depression in some way, shape, or form, if you give them this space to actually feel it to a certain extent and show them that you're there for them, then that goes a long way in the whole moving forward and through, like you were saying.
Right. So when we talked earlier, we talked about really 3 things, right? We know that it happens. It sucks, for various reasons. You have a trigger. Maybe you just feel like you're not happy enough. Maybe your finances are not right. You're feeling like, oh, I can't buy, I can't do the bigger house around this time. Whatever that trigger is, we talked about 3 things that really help to get to help you combat that, right? To help you feel strong in that, to help you move kind of out of that, I wouldn't say self-centered space, but how you kind of can move through it. And so we talked about acts of service,
right?
Huge thing, connecting with others, and then tuning out the negativity and tuning in the positivity. So in terms of acts of service, what are some of the things, and under that umbrella, do you think would be a great idea? You mentioned some that I think are absolutely fabulous that I didn't even think about.
Well, first and foremost, you want to think about it this way. If you're stuck, like people are stuck, if you get just a little shift to move yourself forward, that might be the thing that you need to just change a very, very heaviness inside of you to something that's really kind of optimistic and positive. I'm not saying that you're going to be skipping who knows what, but I'm saying that, you do something of service to someone else. And basically what you're doing is you're shifting yourself to be less hopeless in the fact that you're connecting to another person. So for instance, during the holidays, oh my gosh, I know this incredible group called SIS, they're Sisters in Spirit, and they go out and they feed the poor, and they have groups that they actually organize together, and that they have toy drives and they have fundraisers and things to that effect, that they feel that they're part of a bigger tribe and they're actually connecting to the world. So that certainly is an act of service that you can look into in your community to get yourself outside of yourself. Basically, it's to just shift a little bit so you can move a little forward. Another thing is just by being, by smiling. They say fake it till you make it, but just even a smile, share a smile with somebody else. And if you're not the one who's going through the tough time, you basically will be that kindness that's going forward to actually shift someone else out of a tough time. And I think that there have been many days that you're walking with your head down, and you look up for a second and someone's reaching out to you just by the energy of connection and a smile and a, hi, how are you? What's going on today? And, happy holidays, even just that, or Merry Christmas, or happy Hanukkah, whatever the heck you want to say. Right. But that's enough to shift out. Yeah.
I agree. I think that connection, sharing that energy is important. So we have some great people actually here. Kanisha, Tuki, Nelly, I see here. I would love to hear from you guys. I know that you guys are such giving spirits, and whoever else has tuned in. What are some of the organizations that you want to share so that as this feed moves on, as other people share it, your suggestions will also move on. So if you have an organization that, in terms of giving, we, as my company, EdLyn Essentials, we give to Martha's Table because we're really big on feeding the hungry. It feeds families. It really talks about nutrition. So 10% of all of our proceeds all year go to feed the hungry. And so that's our organization. So if anybody has any suggestions, I know we talked about there is a campaign for writing letters to people who are in the hospital during this time of the year. I thought that was so cool. How I think a mother or someone asked for people to write letters to her daughter who's in the hospital for the holidays. Like, it's just amazing how many organizations you can participate with to make you feel good. Acts of service is really, the psychology of giving is just amazing. It really is. It feels better to give than receive. It really does.
Yeah, and you were talking yesterday also about the veterans, you know, the veterans who are going through holidays and they're dealing with post-traumatic stress and all these other elements, and it's not as festive, and, you know, they're dealing with a lot of heaviness too. You were talking about yesterday how, you know, the Wounded Warrior Project is something that you can look into. Absolutely. And just extend yourself. There's Annie's Blankets, that they buy blankets for women or anyone who's going through depression, because it's in honor of Annie, who unfortunately took her life because of depression. So, you know, these beautiful organizations. And you were talking also about the letter writing campaigns. I mean, imagine just one letter, one extension of yourself is amazing. So yeah. I see some people.
Yeah. They're mentioning, and I think that, so if you have any nonprofit organizations that somebody can partner with, right, and for the acts of service, please share them. We want to hear all about them, so that, you know, a lot of these nonprofits, if they're small, they don't really get into the limelight, right? And then this time of the year, everybody's, you know, they're in a, even if you don't feel good, you know, you can be in a giving spirit. You know, they want to partner with somebody. Others. So others might eat. They actually have a race on, I think they do it around Thanksgiving, but that's a great organization as well. One thing that you mentioned in terms of, you know, we talked about acts of service, but also connections.
Right.
I recently wrote a blog on finding your motivation. Yeah. I know we don't have that much time, but I would love for you, and we can share your link after the broadcast, but talk to us just briefly about some of the things you talked about in your find your motivation. Some of the, maybe to the top 3 things that you mentioned. Well, connections.
Yeah, the connections are huge. I mean, if you find your tribe, your people who just resonate with you, and you go to those places when you feel like the worst or you need it the most, you will find what you need as far as support is concerned. And that's one of the, I know that we were talking about before, and I'm going to refer to this also as the mantras, you know, you find your tribe, find your tribe. If you feel like you need help, you actually extend yourself to those people that you know are waiting with their arms open. And another thing is also, like, as far as speaking your truth, don't hold it in. You need to speak up when you need help. You need to actually reach outside yourself. And if you see somebody, you need to speak up. You see some, like, extend yourself, be vulnerable with another person, you know, to say, you know, like I said before, I see you, I want to connect with you. That's absolutely life-changing at the minimum, to say, you know, you're important in my world. You're important in my life as well. And then another, you know, my attitude of gratitude is probably one of my favorite mantras in the world. And my kids actually say it as a prayer at night. Attitude of gratitude, what are you grateful for? And so when you list out those things that you're grateful for, you start to focus on blessings rather than the heaviness of your life. Right. So, you know, the fact that I'm even speaking to you over Skype, how awesome, we're in different places. That's amazing. And that's something that I'm incredibly grateful for, is our friendship. Or, you know, grateful for the ability to walk or to see or to whatever, like, minimal things that you have to, like, just focus on. It'll shift you out. And also, you know, when you see the world, you know, you change your experience of the world when you start seeing through the eyes of compassion, love, and kindness. And I have a friend who is a living epitome of kindness. Every time you see him, it's like, wow, you know, I just feel better. And I have a friend who also does a Kindness Rocks project, where she just drops them all over the place. These are the things that will shift you. These are, like, the motivations that you can hold on to that will give you the added or the push that you need to shift you out of where you are. And then, of course, you know, I always say, be as authentic as you can. You know yourself enough to know what you need and what you don't need. Know how to say yes, know how to say no. And those are the mantras that I try to live my life by virtue of the fact that I know that when I tune in and clear out like the negative self-talk we were talking about as well.
Right. I
And
think that's the
adding,
third point. That leads us right into the third one. So we have the acts of service, which I think is fantastic, and we have the making the connections, right, and finding your motivation, and then it's tuning out the negativity and tuning in something positive. So you tune out, and I talk about something small like this, where you're saying, tune out, maybe take a break, a cleanse from the news, right? We all get so wrapped up in some of the politics going on in the news, and even just around the world, some of the devastations going on around the world. And so sometimes taking a cleanse from the news, not being aware, but just taking a cleanse from there, taking a social media cleanse, believe it or not, maybe taking a day where you're not plugged into social media. Even, the gossip magazines, pick something that you're cleansing yourself from. You're moving away from the negativity. And I know you talk about replacing that with some other things. And that's what we talked about. And I think we can finish up just talking about the mantras, talking about adding the exercise, some things that, I totally love.
And even with social media at minimum, you can go to people like you to see the inspiration come at you. It's kind of like, oh my God, there she is. Okay, yeah, I needed that. So instead of like sitting there and telling myself, oh, I'm so lazy, I can't even get myself out of bed. Oh my God, I have everything on my plate. Instead of pushing more and more on you, you go to the people that can truly inspire you. So, tune into Marsie, because Marsie's kicking it in the gym, and then she's going for it. And you're like, oh, I can do that too. I can see myself there. So you kind of actually mirror what you're seeing and this beautifulness that comes at you, and you want to be that. So they say when you like find your tribe,
right,
find people you want to actually sign up for it too, and you want to shift into that as well. So that's amazing.
And I have people don't know, they motivate me too. I have the people that I see, and I'm like, and I always say, when I think Nellie's on here, I say I want my Nellie arms, so it's times that I'm like, I don't feel like it, but I'm like, I got
Nellie arms. Oh, that sounds awesome.
He's amazing. And you see, I always talk about my Generation X, women in their 40s, and it's like, you don't have to settle. But that's for a whole nother show. We won't even get into that. We'll maybe have you come back and we'll talk about that. But I love, so acts of service, making your connections and tuning out the negativity and tuning in something positive, like working out. Those endorphins, that endorphin high is so powerful. Don't underestimate what those chemicals can do and how they can replace some and offset some of those bad, not bad, but just those feelings that we really don't want to have, but that can feel consuming at the time. Let's see what Janice is saying. Command your morning so you can live your day. I love it. Yeah.
So, interestingly enough, when you start your day, at least with some kind of empowering mantra, like for instance, something wonderful is about to happen, and you get to enjoy it rather than you have to. So you change the whole energy of the experience. So when you're looking for something wonderful, it'll end up showing up in your life over and over again. And the crazy cool thing about that is then you get to go tell people about it. You're never going to believe that this something wonderful is happening in my life. And then they get excited because then they're looking for their own, because they want a piece of that. So it's kind of like, it's a spread the love, pay it forward, and move along. And you're telling a story of your life that other people want to sign up for, which is whole lot different than coming into the world complaining and just bringing, this heavy energy. You're actually, okay, I'm feeling good today. I'm going to go pass it around and go for it,
I love it. And I love people are starting to add in their mantras. Like, that's amazing. So if you have a mantra that you love, that you use, that you use to empower yourself, share it on this feed. Even if you're watching this broadcast, not live, but later, share in the comments. We always say that. That's our only housekeeping that I didn't do in the beginning, but we love the engagement, but also comment, if you have a mantra, and then share this broadcast so that you can empower and release someone else, so that we can have a jolly holiday season. And that's what these Wellness Wednesdays are all about, giving practical ways to live your very, very best life and live life full of energy, and understand that healthy, whether it's emotional health, mental health, or physical health, healthy is the new beautiful. So thank you so much, Meg. We certainly appreciate it. We have to have you back on the show so we can talk more about your blog. Everybody, I'll put her link to her website in the comments so you can follow her. Her book. Do you have a copy of the book in front of us?
I do.
Let's look at it.
This is
It's a new design. Yes.
Got a new design.
Magical Guide to Bliss.
Yes.
Beautiful.
And the cool thing about December is it's labeled awe-inspiring magic and miracles. And I tell you, if you follow it, mostly, you are going to be so excited and enthusiastic about the things that show up. Because like she says, speak life into your world. You speak things into your world, you feed your brain with something that's absolutely mind-blowing. So that definitely, I actually follow my own advice sometimes, not all the time. But when I do, I've got something awesome to say. So that's awesome. Best life is for sure.
Yes. Well, thank you, Meg. We appreciate it. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next Wednesday. I think we kept it at least under 20. Yes, we're doing better. It's hard to stop when you're having such great conversations, but we look forward to having another great conversation next Wednesday. Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
Happy holidays.
Same to you.